let's get started with this first DIY. If you guys saw in a previous video, I talked about these containers that I got from the grocery store. This came with some fruit in it, and typically you would just throw the container away after you eat it. It's just already pre-made, like cut up, pre-cut fruit, so it's ready to go. I've been using them for various things. They're very easy to pop open. But as you know, I have this in here from like one of my previous videos. This here, we're going to be mixing some of this up. It's just a mortar mix. You can use cement, mortar, whatever you want for this project. I just had this on hand, so I'm just going to go ahead and use it. Now, I have several of these. Different sizes. You can find any container that will work. They had a larger and a smaller size, and I wanted to create a pumpkin vase from these. We're just going to go ahead and fill this up with cement and stick the smaller one in, and we'll do the same thing with the lid like this. Once those are kind of done, then I'll crack this open and then we'll attach them together. So let's get started. The first thing I want to do is oil the inside of these. So I'm just going to use olive oil. You can use literally whatever you want. I already pre-oiled the inside of this up, so this looks like it's good to go. I just have to oil the outside of this one because this one's going to be sitting inside the larger one. Before I do place that in there, I'm going to go ahead and make sure I cut these edges so that way it'll sit nice in there. I'm probably going to have something weighing this down, nice and oiled. This is just going to make it a lot easier to pry these apart. Some of this powder in here, and we'll just use a brush or something like that to stir this up. So now I'm just going to push this down in just to see kind of where I'm at. And I'm kind of tapping it just to make sure all the cement's kind of distributed evenly. I do need a bit more, as you can see. I need it to come up to here. To weigh this down, I'm just going to take these marbles and put them in like a skinnier glass jar. And then set that down in there. That should help kind of weigh it down. I'm going to work on the top. The top portion's a little bit different because I do want to have a hole right here, and I'm not going to cut that out. I'm just simply going to use some hot glue, and I'm going to glue around the surface right here. But I'm basically just going to hot glue that right in the center of this, so that when I do pour my mortar mix, it's going to stop right where that hot glue is. And I can fix the edges later. I'm not that worried. I'm just going to hot glue this down for now. So I have this nice and secure right in that section. And that will just kind of create our hole naturally. Okay, so I'm going to carefully pop this out. I'm going to show you how I'm going to do it. So I'm going to just carefully cut. Dang it, this is already cracked right here. That is not good, but that's okay. We'll just use more of the mortar to piece it back together. I'm going to carefully wiggle this out. Just kind of get my pieces out, and then we'll put it back together. It's not a big deal because the other piece we have to kind of go over it anyway. Let me go grab it and see if it's done. Alright, so here's the other, the bottom half. I'm gonna take this out so that it can dry faster in the inside, and you can smooth this out if you want at this point. This is definitely still drying, so I'm probably going to leave it. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more around the top here. I'm going to attach these back together. I ended up just going ahead and attaching these pieces right to the top of this so I could start to create my vase. So now you can see that this will kind of concave inwards at the top, and that's going to create the actual vase. Once this is done drying, I'm going to pop this out, probably go over the sides, and I want to make sure I do have some indentation, some lines on the sides so that this vase looks more like a pumpkin. Alright, so yesterday, as these pieces were drying off camera, I know I should have showed you guys, but I basically popped this thing out. It's still drying. You can see that it's wet on the bottom. This thing's gonna take forever to dry. I went ahead and mixed up some more mortar, and I just took a paintbrush and I pounced it over those bumped areas, like those raised areas, to really bump those out a bit more. So again, it looks more like a pumpkin shape. And I just took my finger and kind of shaped this out like this and just kind of took some of the mortar off. But overall, I'm pretty happy with this pumpkin vase. I might flip it over like this so that the air hits it. I think I also might put this in front of a fan. That might help it dry faster. And you may have already guessed it, but in today's video, we are on episode 5 of Turn Trash into Cash. I'm excited about this one because I'm obviously doing more of a fall Halloween theme this time. I'm excited to share all these projects with you guys. I just hope it does inspire you to think twice about throwing something away, as you never know, it actually could be your breadwinner. So don't forget to check out that playlist. I have it linked down below so you can see all of the creators and what they did this time. Let's get back into the video. This next project is super simple. You're just gonna need a glass bottle. You can use anything that you have. Like this was a water, like some kind of flavored water glass bottle. You can use literally anything. Like behind me here that I put those marbles in, that's weighing this down over here. This is just a glass jar, like from some sauce or something like that. You could use one from jam, whatever you can find will work. So, or you could use a wine bottle. So you're just gonna need a bottle. This is a super simple project. I've done these in the past. And then we're gonna go to Google and just Google search some kind of label that you like and then print that off. I'm just gonna tell you guys a little secret here. So I took this photograph at Michael's. I just picked up one of the bottles and took a picture on my cell phone and then I printed it off. So now I have a photo of the label and I'm just gonna cut that out and then that's what I'm gonna use to put on my bottle. So that way you can get that same kind of look. Now this bottle's black. It's gonna be a whole different look overall. I mean, you could totally make any bottle for Halloween. And if you don't like any of the bottles that you have as trash, you can always thrift one. But here's my little label. I just cut it out and then I'm just gonna glue it down onto here. And then we'll kind of decorate it and put something inside. I'm just going to be using this tacky glue from Dollar Tree. It works really well for gluing the pieces like this to glass. You don't want to use hot glue. You could use super glue if you wanted to, but this works just fine. Okay, I like to get it all over this. The whole back side's like pasted on there. And I'll just kind of take my finger and run it across the whole thing. You could take a brush or whatever, making sure the whole backside is basically tacky. And that way, because I mean, if you see through the glass, you won't see any weird glue lines or anything. So we're just smoothing this glue out. Plop it on there wherever we want to. Trying to get mine a little bit towards the top a bit better. And it just goes right on like that. If you have the cap or something like the lid or maybe a cork, something that you're going to be putting on the top, you could always glue like a little skull or something. You could make it out of paper mache if you really wanted to make it out of pure recycled stuff. That looks good to me. All the edges are firmly down, and as you can see through the other side here, you don't see any like super weird glue mark. But we're gonna dress it up a little bit, but I want to show you this other one that I made. So I did the same thing. This is just a photograph from one of the bottles at Michael's. I think they were charging around like $7 to $8 for the actual bottle, and I really didn't want to pay that, so I just added a key here with some wire. And the key, I got this, I believe, off of Temu. You get a whole bag for really cheap. Let me find the bag really quick. So here are the bag of keys I was talking about. I think this was just a couple dollars, and you get several different ones you can choose from. And they're all really small, so I think they go really good with like a smaller bottle like this. I had thrifted this bottle, so it had this really cool lid. It was only $1. But again, you could find something in your pantry or something that you're about to throw out. This won't focus, I'm so sorry. And then inside, I'm putting these pills. These are expired pills, okay? They did expire. Figured instead of actually throwing them in the trash, I'm just gonna dump them into this bottle so it looks like, these are pills or something that you would take for apothecary bottle. And I do like the colors. This maroon with white kind of goes with the label, so I'm gonna dump the rest inside this bottle. Now it's filled with something. So that's kind of the one bottle that I already did off camera. So this bottle here, I think I might add maybe just a little cork or something on the top. I'm not really sure. I think it'd be cool to glue like a little raven figurine. I have another one of these glass bottles, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut out another one and get that done off camera real quick. So I wanted to show you, it's the same like thing as the other one that's, I did earlier. It's just a bigger version. I wanted to show this. You probably can't really notice it, but because of the angle of the photograph that I took, when I cut this out, this whole piece is actually angled a little bit, so it's like shorter on this side and it's longer on that side. You can't really tell, and even if it is a little crooked or cockeyed, I think that it will add to like the spooky eeriness of it, so honestly it's fine with me. Alright, so those are pretty much done. Then you can just embellish it with some wire or something like that. Wire or some ribbon. I just fold it in half and then start twisting it with my finger over and over and over, and then you can take that and put that around your bottle like this, and that's when you can add on a little charm or something like that. I do think it'd be cool. I have this little thing I have gotten off Temu to wrap that and kind of either hang that off of this bottle or secure it and glue it at the top. I'm not entirely sure, or that'd be cool too, going straight up. So I found some like random corks in my stash, and I'm just gonna go through and choose one that I like that kind of fits the bottle best. That actually fit right in there, so that's not bad. So maybe we'll use that one. This one doesn't quite fit. That's might be too tall. I do like the shape of this one here. I think that's cool, and it says cart. Not sure what that goes to, but I'm thinking maybe I could use that one for, so I could probably put that one in this bottle here. And another fun tip, if you want to make these look more aged and like dirty, like they've been through stuff, is just take some glue and then just kind of like go like this all over it. And then when it dries, it's gonna have like this dirty looking effect. You can always add a little bit of brown paint right where you're putting this glue, like once this dries. Now I don't want any of my fingerprints, so I'm gonna try to wipe some of this away like that, and then once it dries, look at that. Can you guys see that? It just kind of gives this like dirty effect on the bottom there. You can see the glue residue really just adds to that spookiness. And I'm thinking like probably adding this to the top of this. I'm not sure if I want it hanging or glue it. Ultimately, I decided it would look best if I just hung it on the side. And then I decided to go ahead and kind of age these corks. They looked a little bit too new. I wanted them to look older. I just don't care for the writing on the cork. It's okay if a little bit shows through. It's not that big of a deal. Definitely think the black helps and it blends in those words a bit better. Can't really see them that much. I think I'm happy with how the cork looks, and we'll just pop it back down in there. A little bit darker, a little bit more aged looking. And then I'm going to go ahead and put these little skulls inside the bottle. I'm going to fill it as many as I have. I got these off of Temu. And I know I've said Temu like 5 times already. It is not sponsored. And then here I'm just showing I'm adding some brown paint over that glue, and then I wipe it away and the excess will stick to the glue and that will create a dirty effect. Alright, so I just kind of finished distressing the bottle so it looks a little bit more old. Aged bottles, I think they turned out really cool. I didn't really put anything hanging off this one or inside the bottle. It just has that wire that I put in the beginning. I have this piece. I like the way it turned out. This one's not all aged, just so you can see the difference. I think that the more aged ones look a little bit more authentic. Okay, so I just wanted to show you I have another kind of jar that typically you would just throw out. This was, I think, a salsa or something. I cleaned out the jar. You can see there's some sticky residue from the label. I'm just gonna leave that. I think it adds some texture to it. The lid part, you could either leave it like this or paint it, spray paint it. Spray painting it works best. It sticks a lot better. So here's another label I just cut out. Again, I took a photograph at Michael's, and I'm just going to take this tacky glue. You could use Mod Podge if you wanted, so just pop it on there wherever. I'm just making sure all the edges are pressed down, and then any excess you can just go like this. Kind of just really mess it up all over. Give that cloudy effect that old bottles seem to have. So I thought this looked a little plain, so I wanted to go ahead and glue this skull from Dollar Tree on top of it. I had this in my craft stash. I figured I might as well use it up. So I just hot glued it to the top of this cap, and then I thought it looked a little bit too plain, so I went ahead and painted the top of it. I first started with a matte black, let that dry, and then I went in with a dry brush detail of some whites, grays, and browns. This next project is going to be super fun. So I just have this empty coffee creamer, and you can use whatever you have on hand. You don't have to use this. I'm just using it because it's what I have. I'm going to take off the lid. I'm going to go ahead and strip this down and take this all off really fast. All right, so here is our bottle that we're going to work with. Now the first thing I'm going to do is actually fill this with sand. And if you don't have a funnel on hand, you can just use a water bottle like this. Just cut this down like that, and there's a funnel. So it is nice and compacted. It's a good, nice weight. The next thing I'm going to do is actually glue on a pumpkin that I got from Dollar Tree. I've had this in my stash for a long time, but we're basically just going to be making a little shelf sitter pumpkin person. I'm going to try to cut like a hole so I can kind of like shove this down on there. Let's see if I can try and do this. And I'm going to try to twist it onto it. All right, that seemed to work pretty well actually. And it's on there. I mean, it's on there. Now we have to dress this up, create the arms and legs. Let's get to it. So again, I found this in my craft stash and honestly, it's kind of falling apart, but this is a ribbon. You can see it's falling apart because this wire is actually supposed to be like in here on the sides. Some people would technically throw this away and just like get a new one. So this can technically be considered trash, but you can use anything that you can find, like maybe an old towel or rag or something like that. And you could totally use that. I'm just using this because again, this is what I had on hand. I'm gonna make the arms and the legs out of this material. I want my legs to be really long. So after I had cut them to size, I just went ahead and hot glued the pieces right sides together. And I'm just now noticing because the seams on the ribbon, it's gonna look like we sewed this, even though we didn't. I'm just hot gluing it together. All right, so there's one of the tubes. And then we'll just take some stuffing, which I actually had this old cotton stuffing. I don't know where it's from. But we'll just take this. You could use old Spiderweb stuff that you got from Halloween, maybe a couple years ago, that's kind of going bad or something. Just fluff it up, whatever you have again. So we're just taking this and we're gonna shove this down in the tube. All right, so I've got my legs completed. They are stuffed and ready to go. I'm gonna go ahead and work on the arms. The arms I'm gonna do probably about half this length. So about here to here, and I want to give myself just a little bit of room so when I glue it or add something else onto it. So I just have this fabric in my craft stash, but again, you could use like an old rag or something that maybe you're gonna throw it in the trash and it's kind of gross. I'm just using something to cover it. So I want to cover this up. So I just made some notches at the top and I hot glued this green fabric down to the bottle. I've repeated the same thing on the bottom. Okay, I'm just kind of squeezing everything inwards. So now we have to glue on the arms. So I'm just pushing some of the stuffing down and then I'm gonna go ahead and hot glue it to one of the sides of this pumpkin man. I just came across, this was from an old project, a little scrap piece of fabric. I figured I could probably put that right here and kind of make like a collar or something with it. I am gonna close this up. Oh my gosh, she's looking like a little pumpkin person. All right, I think these are pretty secured. And when this is sitting on the edge of like a shelf or something, because it's a shelf sitter, these will kind of hang off and you can bend them how you want. Now I do need to figure out what I'm gonna do for the hands and the feet. Not quite sure yet, but I figured we could go ahead and dress him up. I do have this red fabric. I thought maybe using this to make some sort of pinstripe outfit. Okay, I also have these straps that I cut off from this. I'm thinking like making some overalls or something like that. That will cover up the glue on the side right here with the arm. I like this kind of rugged look. Could even pull some of this out to give it like more of a frayed look. This that I was thinking putting here, but these would overlap and I'd glue maybe little buttons or something, make some cute little overalls. I began by cutting down the straps just so they looked a little bit more on the right size for overall straps, and I did like the cleaner look in the end. I then put the fabric over those straps in the front and I glued that all the way around into the back. Then I cut down the middle so I could create a shorts. You'll see how I do that in a second here. So basically I had made a cut down the middle of the fabric. I made two cuts, one in the front, one in the back, and then I had glued each sides of those flaps together to create technically like pants or shorts. So now I'm gonna have to glue this little middle section. This is kind of complicated. I mean, I'm just kind of working with the fabric. I want to glue like this section in on this. I think if I could do that. And to make it look a bit more seamless, I'm gonna just try and line up these lines. I mean, it's not the best, but I was thinking of adding these buttons right here, but I think they might be too large. I did find these cute little buttons in my craft stash. They're black and they have these cool anchors. Those will be cool. I'm just gonna hot glue them on there. Maybe I'll just cut this out and create these little, like a little pocket or something right here. Maybe like double up on this. So I just put hot glue on one of the edges and I glued the other one down, and then I unfolded it after it dried to create a larger pocket. Now he's got a little pocket. I think I want to make another little pocket up here. I've just shaped it like this. Not really going to be that noticeable. Just adding a little bit of detail. Now as for the hands, I think I'm just going to use this leftover green fabric. I'm going to cut a shape out of a hand. And I cut 2 pieces of fabric at once. That way I'd have the same shape. Create like a little hand like that. Now I will say the mitten look did not work. This kind of broke. As you can see, I think the thumb hole part just might be too much. And I just glued a little piece over it. I'm just gonna still use it because I'm like, whatever. And then we'll just take like all of these scraps and just push them down in this, and that will stuff it. And you can use your stuffing or whatever. I'm just trying to, you know, use up these pieces I typically would throw in the trash. So I'm just gonna try to use all those up. So the same thing with this, we will just turn this inside out. And then I just secured it to the arm by hot gluing it in place. Now I'm noticing that this hand's a little bit bigger than this hand, but honestly, I think it's fine. I glued this over that hole that I had created. So overall, it looks like this hand, maybe he injured the hand and maybe it's swollen and he has like a band-aid over it. I don't know. I'm just gonna roll with it. Just adds a little bit more fun character to him. How cute are those? Okay, so his arms are pretty much done. I decided the last minute here to add this little embellishment on the sleeve of the shirt, just to kind of add a little bit of something and kind of tie back into the pants. Then he has just a little bit of a flare right there. I might have to mimic the same on like the shoes. I think I want to do his do little boots that are maybe black. Now is time for the fun part where I get to paint his face. I was super nervous about this part just because I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to do something similar to what Tim Burton would do. So like I got reference photos from The Nightmare Before Christmas and The Corpse Bride. I just wanted something kind of animated looking. Also, I did get a reference from Salad Fingers as well, which is a different animation. So overall, he's like a creepy, happy pumpkin man. So I just off camera really quickly repainted the face. I like it better this way. Kind of like creepier, which is what I want. I might go back over it. I don't know, but this is what it looks like for now. Alright, so now we will go ahead and work on making his little boots. So I found this fabric in my craft stash again. I think it was from Dollar Tree, I'm not sure, but it's like this felt material. So I thought that'd be really good for the boots. I cut out a shape of a boot, and I did this 4 times. And then I hot glued 2 sides together. I obviously made sure I left the top of the boot open so I could turn this inside out to have a nice clean finish. I did make the boot a bit more oversized. That way I was able to turn it inside out and it would be the right size. Because you got to allow for the seam allowance. So after the boot was looking pretty good, I then went ahead and started to stuff it. I stuffed the foot first, and then I stuffed up about maybe halfway. And I'm just using up the rest of the pieces here. And remember, when you are stuffing the little boot, to just stuff the foot and then maybe a little bit upwards. We do have to squeeze in the actual leg into the boot like this. And just kind of slip that on, put the leg in there, and then I'm just going to fold this down over itself 3 times. And then once I have that done, I'm gonna put hot glue on the inside of the boot so that it stays to the leg. Those are glued on and secured. Now they're not the best, but honestly, I'm just kind of like, well, it works. At this point, you can go ahead and put in little embellishments or other little details you want to add. Maybe you want to glue his hands together holding a pumpkin. You can also glue little bells on the tips of the boot so that it kind of jingles a little bit. I added a little key in his pocket up here. I do have this little necklace I had made for him. It's not staying right now, so I'm not really sure if I should restring that on something else. Overall, I think he's cute. He's done. So let's style him and see how much I got for this guy. I wanted to show you this quick and easy DIY. You just take some spray paint and you go outside, find a nice spider web, spray paint the spider web. Then you're going to take some construction paper and just push that straight through the spider web. It will then capture the unique design that the spider web creates. As you can see here, I got it onto this white piece of paper and I used black spray paint so it would show up. Then I used matte clear sealer. I just went ahead and gave a quick spray on this. I wanted to try this with gold spray paint as well, and as you can see here, this doesn't work the best. I think the spray paint was too thick or something. Also, I wasn't holding the black paper at the right angle. You really need to push the paper all the way through. So find a good spider web that's kind of hanging between 2 posts or something like that, so you can push the thing all the way through and not just straight at the ground. So I wanted to try it one more time with the black paper since I didn't get a good one, and I found a really nice spider web right over here that I was able to get some really nice lines on. I got some nice lines on that one. I will say, as soon as you spray it with that matte clear, it just really sets it in and it really pops. I'm loving this gold against the black. It looks so neat. But I will say the gold is a bit harder when you spray it on the cobweb to push this through. I do see some more down in there, so I'm going to try to fill this section over here that's more black. You guys probably can't even see the cobwebs on camera. But obviously I don't want all that stuff in there, so I gotta peel that off carefully. Alright, I'm gonna hit this with the clear. Just watch the way it sets in. See that gold? It really shines and it sets that cobweb in place. This looks so neat. I'm loving these designs. They're turning out so cool. So I just had this frame that I got from Dollar Tree years ago. I went ahead and just popped out the back of it here. That way I could, use it. I may in the future paint this. Probably not going to do that in this video, but I'm just kind of showing you guys what you can do with that spiderweb artwork. Easily just frame this, like pick a spot, cut this out and frame it. I'd put some cardboard in the back so it would, stay. And look how pretty that would be. I'm not going to actually do this in this video. I'm just kind of showing you a visual here. I was thinking about scanning this and getting some prints made. So let me know if I should do that or not. And then maybe I could sell some of these prints because these are one-of-a-kind art pieces at this point. I think that would be so pretty in this frame. What do you guys think? I wanted to just pop these in this video real quick. I just went and got these from Dollar Tree, and I just think they are the cutest socks. They say trick or treat, and they have this kind of vintage vibe to them. I thought they were so stinking cute for only $1.25. I just found these frames. These were free. They're damaged, so I mean I have them on hand. Totally could use them, but somebody threw them in the trash. So you could totally use them, and I could probably repaint these, maybe put something here to fill this in, or just paint over it and you wouldn't even notice that it's damaged. Well, anyways, on your artwork here, you could just take your frame and line it up where you want it, and then cut that out, and then that would be your photo. Just frame the spider webs. This down here, I thought maybe going maybe this way. I don't really know though. I don't know. I'm just going to play around with it, but I just wanted to show you guys this quick little project. I saw someone else do this, and I'll link her channel below as well if you want to see what she had done, but it's basically the same thing that I showed you guys in this video. I just love it. I think that it's so cool. It's so unique, and I love the gold against the black. It really does shine really cool. I think these would be neat if they were painted a similar gold color. I think it would really tie everything in. I might do that in a future video, but I want to scan these, get some maybe prints or something made before I cut them up. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I really do hope you enjoyed it and got some cool inspiration. Let me know which project was your favorite. And don't forget to check out that playlist. I have that linked down below in the description box. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!